Admiral Park gazed out at the vast darkness of space through the main viewport of the HSS Defiance. Tiny points of light marked distant stars, a reminder of how far humanity had traveled from Earth. As the flagship of humanity's experimental deep space fleet, the Defiance represented the peak of human engineering and ambition.
"Admiral, we're approaching the coordinates," said Lieutenant Kim, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface.
Sensors detect several large vessels waiting at the rendezvous point. Park nodded, adjusting his uniform.
This was humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Consortium, an alliance of spacefaring species that dominated this sector of the galaxy. Everything about this meeting would set the tone for humanity's future among the stars. "All stations report ready," Commander Lee announced from his position at operations.
"The diplomatic team is standing by."
The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency as the Defiance slowed its approach.
Through the viewport, alien ships came into view.
They were massive structures, some appearing like floating cities rather than vessels, dwarfing the human fleet.
"They're hailing us," Lieutenant Kim reported. On screen, Park ordered, straightening his posture.
The main display flickered to life, revealing a being unlike anything most of the crew had seen before. The alien had elongated features, 6 blinking eyes arranged in a pattern across its face, and mandibles that clicked softly as it regarded the humans.
"I am Ambassador Vellner of the Galactic Consortium," the alien said, its voice processed through translation systems. "We welcome humanity to the greater galactic community." Park gave a small bow. "Thank you, Ambassador. I am Admiral Park of the Earth Alliance. We are honored to meet with the Consortium." The alien's eyes blinked in an unsettling pattern.
"Your vessels are interesting. Quite small by our standards." Park detected the note of condescension but maintained his diplomatic smile.
"We value efficiency in our designs, Ambassador."
"Yes, efficiency," Vellner replied, mandibles clicking faster. "Appropriate for a younger species. The Consortium has existed for 50,000 of your years.
We have much to teach you."
The conversation continued with the ambassador explaining the structure of the Consortium, dozens of species united under common laws and protection. But as the meeting progressed, Park noticed how the ambassador kept referring to humans as developing, emerging, or primitive. "The Consortium is prepared to offer humanity protected species status," Vellner finally stated. "Your worlds will be under our supervision. Your ships will be permitted limited travel within designated safe zones."
A tense silence fell over the bridge. This wasn't the equal partnership humans had hoped for.
"With respect, Ambassador," Park replied carefully, "humanity has its own governing systems and prefers to maintain its independence while establishing friendly relations."
The ambassador's skin flushed a deep violet. "Independence is a luxury in this galaxy, Admiral. One your species cannot afford. There are dangers you cannot imagine." As the transmission ended, Commander Lee approached the Admiral.
"They see us as children," he said quietly. "Or pets," Park replied. 3 days later, the diplomatic mission continued aboard the Consortium's massive station. Captain Ryu of the science vessel Curiosity found herself separated from the main human delegation, wandering into what appeared to be a military planning room.
Before she could retreat, she overheard 2 Consortium officers speaking.
"The humans refuse protected status. They believe they can defend themselves," one said with a sound like laughter. "Their ships are hardly worth calling warships," the other replied.
"No energy shields, primitive weapons.
They would fall within hours if challenged."
Ryu slipped away unnoticed, immediately reporting to Admiral Park.
But before they could process this information, Lieutenant Kim burst into the meeting room.
"Admiral.
Emergency transmission from Outpost Horizon, they're under attack."
The view screen showed grainy footage of massive ships firing upon the small human research outpost.
The attacking vessels bore markings of the Zellner, one of the Consortium's most aggressive member species.
When Park confronted Ambassador Vellner, the alien seemed unsurprised.
"Regrettable," Vellner said.
"But the Zellner operate with some independence.
Perhaps now you understand why protected status is in your best interest."
Park's eyes narrowed. "You knew this would happen."
The strong survive in this galaxy, Admiral. The consortium offered protection, and you refused.
What happens next is educational for all parties.
As the human delegation rushed back to their ships, Park issued battle orders.
All vessels, prepare for combat operations.
The consortium has shown its true face.
Commander Lee looked concerned. They outnumber us significantly, sir.
Park's expression hardened. Then it's time to show them why they should have taken us more seriously.
As the human fleet moved into formation, the Zellner attackers continued their assault on the outpost, not bothering to prepare for the approaching ships they considered insignificant. They would soon learn their mistake. General Ka stood proud on the command deck of the Zellner flagship, Inevitable Victory. His grayscaled skin gleamed under the ship's lights as he observed the human outpost through the main viewscreen. Smoke rose from several damaged structures, and the outpost's weak defenses had already fallen.
Pitiful, Ka said, his triple-jointed fingers tapping against the command console.
Is this what the consortium fears?
These humans build colonies like children build sandcastles.
His second-in-command, Officer Terex, approached with a data tablet. Sir, sensors detect 7 human vessels approaching.
They appear to be military.
Ka made a dismissive gesture. 7 ships against our 23? Their bravery exceeds their intelligence. The bridge crew laughed. The Zellner fleet had destroyed civilizations with far more advanced technology than humans possessed. This would be a simple demonstration of power.
Prepare to record their destruction, Ka ordered. The Consortium Council should see what happens to species that reject our protection.
The massive Zellner warships turned, their weapon systems powering up.
On the tactical display, the human vessels appeared as small dots compared to the Zellner ships.
The dots moved in a tight formation toward the battle zone. They're not changing course, Terex noted with surprise. They're actually going to attack.
Ka leaned forward, curious about this suicide run.
Let them come.
Target their lead vessel once they're in range. As the human ships entered weapons range, something unexpected happened. The small formation suddenly split apart, each vessel taking a different vector. Then, from each ship, swarms of even smaller objects launched outward.
What are those? Ka demanded.
The tactical officer stared at his screens in confusion.
Combat drones, sir. Hundreds of them.
They're deploying some kind of combat swarm.
Before Ka could issue new orders, the swarm of human drones attacked.
They didn't behave like normal attack craft, which followed predictable assault patterns.
Instead, they moved in seemingly random ways that confused the Zellner targeting systems.
The first explosions rocked a Zellner cruiser as drones found gaps in its defensive screens. Impossible, Terex whispered. Our shields should stop such primitive weapons. The human ships themselves were now moving in unpredictable patterns, never maintaining course for more than a few seconds. The Zellner fleet's coordinated attack formation, designed to face conventional enemies, began to fall apart. They're communicating instantly, the communications officer reported with alarm.
No transmission delay between their forces. I can't detect any signals. Ka growled in frustration. How are they coordinating without communications we can detect? Another explosion, this time much closer. The flagship shuddered as a section of its outer hull was breached. Status report. Ka demanded.
3 of our vessels heavily damaged, sir, Terex replied, his voice shaking. The humans are targeting our propulsion systems with precision strikes. They're crippling our fleet. On the tactical display, Ka watched in disbelief as the small human vessels and their drone swarms continued their assault.
The Zellner fleet's formation had dissolved into chaos.
Ships tried to target the agile human vessels but couldn't establish firing solutions on the constantly moving targets. Sir, we've lost the dominant force and Stellar Crusher, the tactical officer reported as 2 more Zellner ships went dark on the display.
A nearby explosion sent sparks flying across the bridge.
Ka steadied himself against his command chair.
How, he demanded. How are they doing this? Their technology is inferior. Officer Terex studied the battle data. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered before, sir. Not like warriors, they're fighting like survivors. They focus on disabling, not destroying. They use their smaller size as an advantage. As the flagship rocked from another precision strike, Ka realized he had gravely underestimated these humans. Their ships weren't primitive, they were different. And different, in this case, meant deadly. Retreat, he ordered, the word bitter in his mouth. All vessels withdraw immediately. Later, in the consortium's war council, Ka stood before the assembled representatives of the member species. His once pristine uniform was torn, and a bandage covered a wound on his face. Explain your failure, demanded Supreme Counselor Vex. Ka projected the battle recordings. The humans employ warfare unlike anything we've encountered. Their ships appear simple on the outside but contain technologies we didn't detect. They use quantum-entangled communications that cannot be intercepted or jammed. He highlighted footage showing the human drone swarms. Their combat doctrine isn't based on power or numbers but on adaptability. They don't fight in formation, they fight in organized chaos. The council members watched in silence as the recording showed the destruction of the Zellner fleet's finest warships. We assumed their smaller ships meant weaker capabilities, Ka concluded. We were wrong. They have turned their limited resources into an advantage. They don't build massive ships because they don't need to. Supreme Counselor Vex's expression darkened. And now they know we attack them first. Ka nodded grimly. Yes. And something tells me they won't forget that lesson, nor should we. Captain Han moved through the war room with quick steps, her dark eyes focused on the gathered officers. The room's walls displayed holographic images of recent battles between human and consortium vessels. Officers studied the footage carefully, taking notes as Captain Han prepared to begin her presentation. 3 months ago, the consortium believed they could destroy our outposts without consequence, Han said, stopping at the central display table. Today, they hold emergency councils to understand why their ships keep failing against ours. She activated the main display, showing the battle near Jupiter where 3 human frigates had destroyed a consortium dreadnought 5 times their size. The room fell silent as they watched the smaller human ships dancing around the massive alien vessel, striking with precision until it broke apart. The consortium calls this luck, Han continued. Their military leaders can't accept that primitive humans could defeat their advanced technology. But it isn't luck. Lieutenant Choi raised her hand. The Admiral asked us to identify our advantages. What have we found? Han nodded, appreciating the question. Our first advantage is our history. Earth's nations fought each other for centuries. We learned to defeat stronger enemies through creativity and adaptation. She switched the display to show the inside of a human warship. The bridge looked different from most ships, workstations were arranged in a circle rather than facing forward, and the captain's chair could rotate to any position. Our second advantage is our command structure, Han explained. Consortium ships have rigid hierarchies. Orders flow from top to bottom. If their commander falls, the chain breaks. Commander Moon, a veteran of several engagements, spoke up. Our captains have freedom to make decisions without waiting for orders. Every officer is trained to take command if needed. Exactly, Han agreed. Which brings us to our third advantage, our technology focuses on enhancing human judgment, not replacing it. She showed footage of a human tactical officer working with an AI system. Unlike the fully automated consortium ships, human vessels combined artificial intelligence with human intuition. The consortium AI systems follow logical patterns, Han said. They can't understand why a human commander might make an illogical choice that leads to victory. The display changed to show human ships changing weapon configurations mid-battle. Parts of the ships shifted, with weapon modules retracting and new ones deploying in their place. Our fourth advantage, modular design, Han continued. The consortium builds specialized warships. We build ships that can change their function during battle. Lieutenant Choi picked up a small component from the display table. This is our newest advance, quantum-linked communication modules. The consortium still doesn't understand how our ships coordinate without detectable signals. The officers nodded. Quantum entanglement allowed instant communication that couldn't be intercepted or jammed, a huge tactical advantage.
But our greatest strength, Han said, her voice growing serious, is something the consortium can't copy.
Through studying captured aliens, we've learned something important about their psychology.
She displayed biological scans of various consortium species.
Most consortium races evolved as apex predators on their homeworlds. They never faced existential threats. Their warfare is about dominance, not survival. Commander Moon understood immediately.
While humans evolved constantly looking over our shoulders.
Exactly, Han said. We spent thousands of years as both predator and prey.
We know what it means to fight for survival, not just victory. The room grew quiet as this insight sank in. It explained why human tactics seemed so foreign to the consortium. Humans fought like cornered animals even when they weren't cornered. The meeting was interrupted when a young officer burst through the door.
Captain, emergency transmission from the Defiance.
The consortium has launched a major offensive against our colonies in the Tau Ceti system.
Han's expression hardened. How many ships?
At least 30 dreadnoughts, with support vessels. The officers exchanged worried glances.
Even with their advantages, those numbers were concerning. They're hoping to overwhelm us with brute force, Commander Moon said. Han studied the incoming tactical data.
They're learning, but slowly.
They still think numbers will save them.
She looked at the gathered officers.
Prepare all available ships.
If the consortium wants to test our resolve, we'll show them why humanity survived countless extinction threats on Earth.
As the officers rushed to their stations, Han remained studying the enemy fleet movements.
The consortium had arranged their ships in a perfect formation, organized, logical, and utterly predictable.
She smiled slightly. They still don't understand. It's not about the size of your fleet. It's about how you use it.
Hours later, as the human fleet jumped into the Tau Ceti system outnumbered 5-1, the consortium commanders expected a quick victory. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to read their every move before they made it, an enemy that had turned disadvantage into strength through centuries of fighting against the odds. The Battle of Tau Ceti would soon become another example in Captain Han's presentations on why alien armadas feared humanity's warships. Diplomat Yoon stood by the observation window of Neutral Station Epsilon, watching ships from a dozen species dock at the massive space station. After months of war, this peace conference represented humanity's best hope for ending the conflict with the Galactic Consortium.
Beautiful, isn't it? Asked a voice behind her.
Yoon turned to see Thorax, a senior elder of the consortium.
The tall alien's blue skin reflected the starlight as he moved to stand beside her. The gathering of so many different peoples, Thorax continued. Some of these species were enemies for centuries before joining the consortium. Yoon nodded. That gives me hope for our talks today.
The conference chamber was arranged in a circle, with representatives from humanity and the moderate factions of the consortium seated as equals. This alone was a victory. The consortium had initially insisted that humans attend as a developing species with limited speaking rights.
We call this meeting to order, announced Thorax, taking his position at the speaker's platform. Today we seek understanding between humanity and the consortium.
Over the next few hours, both sides shared their perspectives. The human delegates described their colonies, their dreams of peaceful exploration, and their desire to join the galactic community as equals. The consortium representatives explained their ancient traditions and their concern about humanity's rapid technological advancement. Your adaptability is remarkable, though Rex admitted during a break in the talks. When the Zelmer attacked your outposts, we expected you to beg for protection. Instead, you defeated forces 3 times your size.
Yoon smiled slightly.
We've had a lot of practice surviving against long odds. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other, the Rex said, his 4 eyes blinking in what Yoon had learned was a sign of sincere interest.
The peace treaty began to take shape. Humans would maintain their independence but would share certain technologies with the consortium.
In exchange, humanity would gain access to established trade routes and cultural exchanges. This is all we ever wanted, Yoon told her aide, Ming, as they reviewed the draft treaty.
to be treated as equals. Ming nodded. The Admiral will be pleased. He's been holding the defense line for months waiting for this breakthrough.
Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The lights dimmed to emergency status, and security personnel began rushing through the corridors.
What's happening?
Yoon demanded as she hurried back to the conference chamber. Inside, chaos reigned. Alien representatives shouted over each other while emergency broadcasts played on the main screens. The largest display showed a massive fleet of consortium warships emerging from hyperspace near Earth.
This isn't us, the Rex insisted, his tentacles waving in agitation as he approached Yoon. This is the military hardliners. They've decided negotiation is weakness.
Yoon's communicator buzzed with an emergency signal. She stepped aside to answer it, dreading what she would hear. "Madam Diplomat," said the voice of her aide. "The Defiance and 3 other ships are positioning as a last defense at Jupiter's orbit. They're buying time for Earth's evacuation."
"Admiral Park is leading the defense personally," Ming whispered.
Yoon closed her eyes briefly. "Then we should prepare for heavy losses."
"Park won't retreat while civilians remain." On the main screen, the battle unfolded. Human ships, outnumbered but fighting with their characteristic unpredictability, engaged the consortium fleet. The Defiance, recognizable by its distinctive profile, darted between much larger enemy vessels, landing precision strikes.
"Your admiral fights with honor," the Rex said quietly, standing beside Yoon. "Many in the consortium now question our leadership's decisions."
"Too late for that," Yoon replied as Earth's orbital defenses collapsed one by one.
The station fell silent as they watched the Defiance, heavily damaged but still functional, turn toward the consortium flagship.
With its weapons destroyed and engines failing, Admiral Park made his final decision.
The human vessel accelerated directly toward the enemy command ship.
"He's ramming them," whispered Ming.
The screen flashed bright as the Defiance collided with the consortium flagship. Both vessels erupted in flames, breaking apart in Jupiter's orbit.
In the stunned silence that followed, the Rex approached Yoon. "I grieve with you for your admiral. He died with courage." Yoon's expression hardened. "Don't offer condolences while your people destroy our homeworld." This attack was not approved by the full council, the Rex insisted. "Many of us wanted peace. The military faction acted alone."
"And yet they fly your flags and use your authority," Yoon countered.
As Earth's defenses failed completely, the consortium representatives watched in uncomfortable silence.
Many felt an unfamiliar emotion, respect for the humans who fought so fiercely despite overwhelming odds.
"You believe you've won," Yoon told the Rex as reports came in of Earth's fall. "You think humanity is finished. Is it not?" The Rex asked gently. "Your homeworld is lost. Your fleet is scattered."
Yoon's communicator beeped with an encrypted message. She read it quickly, then looked up with a strange expression that the Rex couldn't interpret.
"Admiral Park's final order before the ramming attack," she said.
"Operation Hydra is now in effect."
"What is Operation Hydra?" the Rex asked, suddenly uncomfortable. Yoon's smile was cold. "You're about to find out why cutting off one head doesn't kill us."
6 months after Earth's apparent fall, General Ka stood in the command center of the consortium's military headquarters.
Reports flooded in from across the galaxy, each more alarming than the last. Human ships attacking in the Orion sector, an officer reported. 3 consortium cruisers destroyed. "Impossible," Ka growled. The human fleet was broken at Earth. Another officer rushed forward.
"General, we have confirmed attacks in the Sirius system. And the Procyon outpost has gone silent."
Ka's scaled skin darkened with rage. "These cannot all be human vessels. They must be using mercenaries."
The main display activated, showing attacks across 12 different sectors simultaneously.
Ka stared in disbelief.
No species could coordinate attacks across such vast distances without a central command, and Earth, humanity's command center, had fallen. "Sir, incoming transmission," the communications officer announced.
It's from a human ship." On screen, Ka ordered. The display changed to show a human officer in a crisp uniform. General Ka, I am Captain Jean of the HSS Relentless.
I believe you remember our ships from your failed attack on Outpost Horizon.
Ka's eyes narrowed. How are you coordinating these attacks? Your homeworld is occupied.
Captain Jean smiled slightly. Operation Hydra, Admiral Park's final order before the Defiance's last stand.
You see, what you never understood about humans is that we don't need a central command structure to function.
On the tactical display, 5 human ships suddenly appeared behind the consortium's defensive line, having somehow bypassed the sensor network. Each human captain carries complete strategic authority, Jean continued.
Each ship contains our entire battle database. Cut off one head, and 2 more take its place. Alarms blared as more human vessels emerged from hidden positions throughout consortium space. How had they remained undetected for 6 months?
You believed occupying Earth would end us, Jean said. But humans learned long ago not to put all our hopes in one world, one leader, or one fleet.
Ka's second-in-command rushed into the command center.
General, they've reached the shipyards at Zentar. They're using some new technology, our weapons pass right through their hulls. On the screen, Captain Jean nodded.
Our dimension-shifting technology.
Still experimental, but effective. Your weapons are designed to hit targets in normal space.
Our ships can phase partially out of your reality.
For the first time in his military career, General Ka felt true fear. The consortium had always relied on superior numbers and technology.
What good were those advantages against an enemy that could appear anywhere and couldn't be hit? What do you want? Ka demanded.
The same thing we wanted before you attacked us, Jean replied calmly.
Recognition of our independence and equal standing in galactic affairs.
3 days later, the consortium capital itself came under attack. The human fleet appeared suddenly in orbit, their ships shifting in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to target. In the Grand Council chamber, Supreme Counselor Vex faced the assembled representatives.
We must negotiate with the humans. They have proven themselves worthy adversaries. Worthy? General Ka challenged. They have humiliated the greatest military force in the galaxy. Diplomat Thorax, who had been working with human representatives before the war escalated, stepped forward. Because we never understood what we were fighting. Humans don't fight like us. They don't seek glory or conquest. They fight for survival, and that makes them unstoppable. When the peace treaty was finally signed, humanity gained not just independence but a special status in the consortium. Human military advisors were requested by species who had once dismissed them as primitive. Human ship designs became the template for a new generation of vessels across the galaxy. 10 years later, a young Zellner cadet named Zex examined the new fleet under construction in the orbital shipyards. The vessels looked nothing like traditional consortium warships. They were smaller, more agile, with modular sections that could be reconfigured for different missions. Why do all our ships look like theirs now? He asked his instructor. The old officer, who wore scars from the Battle of Jupiter, looked thoughtful. Because we learned the hard way, it was never about the warships themselves. It was about the human spirit inside them. That's what we truly feared. I don't understand, the cadet admitted. Humans evolved on a world where they were not the strongest predator, the instructor explained. They survived by outsmarting stronger enemies. When we thought we had defeated them by taking their homeworld, they showed us why that strategy was flawed. He pointed to a small human vessel docked nearby. Though tiny compared to traditional consortium ships, it commanded respect from all who passed. The legend of human warships isn't about size or firepower, the instructor continued. It's about what they represent, a species that refuses to surrender, that adapts to any challenge, that finds strength in seeming weakness. The cadet looked at the human ship with new eyes. Is that why the consortium changed after the war? Yes, the instructor nodded. We learned that true strength isn't in domination but in cooperation and adaptation. The humans taught us that lesson the hard way.
As they watched, the human vessel prepared for departure, its engines glowing with a soft blue light. Even now, years after peace had been established, other ships gave it a wide berth in space. The legend lived on, passed from species to species across the galaxy.
Never underestimate human warships or the determination of those who crew them.